We remember things by place. And you have to have them unique, otherwise they bleed. And you end up with rhino theory, where everything is a complete mess. So one of the best things to do is use something called a memory palace. I use virtual towns. So I create towns in my imagination, and I create shops in those towns, and I put little subways from each town. It's just great fun. So I'm going to teach you how to do this, all right? This is how powerful it is. So literally, I've had people's lives transformed within 15 minutes doing this.
From the city of Peaky Blinders, Birmingham, England, I would like to introduce you to Paddy Danda.
As the world becomes more automated and the robots take over, it's imperative that we build the right human skills for the future. So pull up a chair, grab a samosa or two, and make yourself very uncomfortable. I want to know what superpower you're bringing to this particular episode.
Okay, I'm bringing the superpower. So this is going to be a very brave thing to say. I'm bringing the superpower that is accessible to virtually every person who lives.
Intrigue, curiosity, you got me on tender hooks now. Tell us more. What is that?
So we were talking just before we started about how you've got the worst memory in the world.
Did I say that? I've forgotten already.
Something like that. Something like that. Yeah. A goldfish has a memory of 5 seconds. Actually, it doesn't. A goldfish actually has a really good memory. It's a fallacy. But if you want to entertain a goldfish, put it in a bowl and you get an infrared device, your little remote control. And the fish, because the fish can see in infrared. So it swims around this bowl, comes back, you flash the remote control, it goes, oh, wow, what a cool party. Swims around again, and they flash it again, goes, oh, wow, a new cool party. And it gets entertained for hours. No, a lot of people think they've got bad memories, but the truth is, there's something called aphantasia, which is people who have an inability to imagine things. But because of how brains work, I don't know how factual that is at all, because brains operate in imagination world. An imagination world takes in the 5 senses, combines them all together. And you don't actually remember whole things. Your brain remembers different parts, and then it reconstructs the image and reconstructs the memory. It's really clever. And the people with aphantasia, they seem to be able to remember in different ways. Everybody who I speak to can access what I'm hopefully going to teach you this morning in a way that is rather good fun. And if you do a lot of it in one day, it's like I've never taken drugs, but everybody I've done this with is a really intense. They go, my brain's on fire. So I'm bringing memory to the table.
Brilliant. And I was saying to you earlier, I'm probably your perfect victim or guinea pig. Put it however you want.
I like the idea of victim. I like.
Because I'm one of those people that if I'm walking around the house, I'll walk into a room, I'll then forget why I came into that room. And it happens a lot. And my kids just think I'm going senile, but I don't know. Like I've heard other people say the same thing. So I think this is going to be invaluable for me. And I have an upcoming talk at a conference. By the time this episode gets released, I might have just done the talk, or it might be a day before the talk. So it just depends when we release the episode.
Okay, well, first of all, let's solve your forgetting things stuff. So it's all about focus, concentration, and pattern interrupts. All right? I've got ADHD and autism. No, I am autistic. And so I've got complications with what's called executive function, which is what led me down the path decades ago, without even knowing I was autistic, of developing my memory, because I couldn't remember normally, like most people seem to be able to. I really struggled at school. And pattern interrupts is basically when social media is the worst, but you've got a thought in your head. So you're thinking, so short-term memory is what you use to get upstairs to remember what you needed. Okay. You don't want to remember every single time that you went upstairs to go and remember what you needed. Therefore, you have a 6 minute short-term memory, sometimes shorter, sometimes slightly longer. So memory works by shoving things in the short-term memory and then getting into the long-term memory. All right. And that's basically what I do when I'm like looking at helping people develop a more powerful memory. It's helping with that. So, and pattern interrupts is when you're thinking about what you want to do, and then something comes along and goes boom. It completely, it's all like, I'm thinking about that. And now you've wiped out the short-term memory. They go, oh, what was I going to do? And I struggle with it as well. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to say to you is you need to learn to focus. So what you got to do is if you want to do something and remember what you wanted, you just take 3-4 seconds. That's the most to go, I want to go upstairs and do this. Imagine yourself doing it, okay? And then you can have as many pattern interrupts as you like. You will not forget, okay? Until you've gone upstairs and done it in the space of 6 minutes. All right? So get rid of the goldfish effect for a start.
Can I just check on that, then, Andy? So when you say you imagine yourself doing it, are you almost visualizing you doing it? I'm just thinking of an example.
Yeah.
Say if I'm coming upstairs to pick up
Mm.
my glasses, and
Yes.
am I then visualizing me actually picking them up, putting them on, walking back out? Is
Yeah.
that the sort of thing?
Yeah. That's exactly what you're doing. So you're shoving things into a sort of like, if you like, your proper memory buffer. Because basically what we do is you get an idea and then we're on to the next thing. And that's why we forget what we were going to do. Okay. Can I ask you, do you ever forget where you've put your keys down?
Yes, all the time. Even my phone.
Right.
Yeah, all those sort of things.
Okay. Right. Okay. So easy hack is always put it down in the same place. But we don't do that, do we? No, we don't. It's not normal. Right. So this is what you do. When you put your keys down, imagine them, say 3 or 4 seconds, all you're going to take. Imagine those keys exploding. They're a bomb. You put your keys down, boom, suddenly exploded. Parts of wherever you put it down on explode with it, flying out and hitting all the windows and smashing them wherever it is. Okay? That's it. You now don't need to worry about forgetting it, because when you come to thinking, where have I put my keys down? Well, you got this. Where did I last explode them? Oh, I got explode them there. And I'm not sure whether it's the visual imagery. There's so much we don't know about brains. They're just bringing up things. Is it the visual imagery, or is it that you took 3 or 4 seconds to pay attention? And it could be a bit of both, to be perfectly honest. But you won't lose your keys again. So that's how you can already get over things. There you go. Top tip.
That is actually a really interesting concept to try. I've never tried that. No one's ever told me to visualize my keys exploding before. But I'm latching onto that because of what you're saying there. It's that visual representation, and it's this event that's unusual, right? Like it's not something that you
Yeah.
would imagine every day. So it's an unusual thing for your brain to pick up on.
Yeah. Brains love novelty.
Right.
They love novelty. It's like an attraction, a magnetic kind of thing, that your brain will go to a new thing that you presented it with. Okay. And some people listening will say, well, what happens if I keep putting my keys down in different places? And therefore I've got lots of explosions. Say, well, that's fine. Just go to all the explosions. But you'll find that you won't need to worry about that, because the newer thing will actually shine brighter. It's quite funny with my brain, because I memorize an awful lot of stuff, which we might talk about later. Because I memorize an awful lot of stuff for fun, I've got loads of encoded images in my head all over the place. And until I overwrite them, I end up with these images. And unless I'm doing the rehearsal stuff, so you've got to do rehearsal, it's a thing, and spaced repetition, I end up having just an image. So months later, I'll come back and go, what the dickens has that image got to do with it? Why is there an elephant in my bath? I've got no idea. But there is an elephant in my bath. And I'm thinking, what has that got to do with anything? I've got no idea at all. But so images really last a very long time, as long as you've encoded it and done spaced repetition.
And I love that factor of novelty. I'll give you an example, actually, Andy. It reminds me of
Yeah.
a presentation I did to my sales colleagues about a year ago, where I was telling you just before we started that I worked for a big training company by day, and I had to present to about 300 salespeople about some new courses we were launching. And I thought I could just put up a slide and put some bullet points up, but how memorable is that going to be? Right? Probably in one ear, out the other.
Zero. Absolutely. Within 20 minutes of hearing something, you forget 40 to 48%.
Right. There we go.
What you've heard within 20 minutes. Okay. Within 3 days, you've forgotten everything.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you get keynote speakers are walking around. It's why you get this ridiculous, sorry, I've interrupted you here, haven't I? There's an autistic brain. It's why you get this, I think it's ridiculous, because I've spoken to thousands of people for years, right? And there's this phrase of, it's not, people don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. So anyway, so you were saying...
Yeah, so I threw the bullet points away and I just did this crazy visual, and it was of Santa Claus.
Oh, brilliant.
And Santa Claus was getting ready for Christmas, and it was 70 days away from Christmas. So you can see it was a few months away. And I talked about how Santa had a few dilemmas, and he was
Mm.
afraid that they wouldn't build all the products in time for Christmas for the children.
Mhm.
And so he
Mm.
needs some training. And one of the courses was around product management. So that was going to really help him.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the other thing was he'd been working out, he'd been taking care of himself. So he'd lost a few pounds and he needed a new belt. And we
Yeah.
were launching some new Lean Six Sigma yellow belt and green belt courses as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the final one was a Kanban course. And anyone that knows about Kanban, it's about visualizing your work. So I said, Sandra's
Mhm.
also unaware of what his elves are working on. He just doesn't know all the things that they're building.
Mm.
It's going to really help him because he can visualize the work. It's a great course for that type of thing.
Mhm.
So 3 courses in such a ridiculous story. And about 5 days later, I talked to a couple of salespeople and I said, "Hey, what do you remember from that 30-minute conversation I had?"
Mm.
And they almost regurgitated the story word for word and could remember all of
There
the
you
details,
go.
which just
Yeah.
blew my mind because I thought
Brilliant.
I had no idea that would be the impact. So it goes back to your novelty
Yeah.
factor.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. It's novelty. But also what you did is you turned it into an image. And that is a secret thing. So the only thing which would have been trickier was the number is 70. Because you said 70 days away from Christmas. So it's quite easy to remember, like the Kanban thing, you can remember the belt, but the 70 is tricky. But there's ways of encoding numbers as well.
Right.
It's how people remember all these digits of pi. I think that's a complete waste of time. I can't be bothered learning pi. It is boring. I thought about remembering it once and I thought, actually, no, it's boring. Can't be bothered. But so 70 is case. So because I remember what you said quite easily because I remembered, oh, case, that's Santa holding his case. So he's got a suitcase in his hand. And it's case because if you take 2 sevens and you put them a mirror image on each other, can't quite do it, though, like that. So a 7 and a 7, and you put the mirror image of each other, you get a sound of cut. And S is standing for the number 0. So you've now got a cut and a cert. You put vowels in, which are filler letters. You've got the word case. And because you've got the word case, you've now got something you can hold.
Wow.
So now you've got a visual image of it. I have to, because I've got an appalling, one of the struggles I have is looking at a calendar and then transferring dates from one place to another because, again, how my brain works is a bit of a problem. So numbers, my dyslexia with numbers is out of this world. It's ridiculous. So I summarize everything into images and I break, if I need an important number to memorize, I will turn it into a visual image. So I will do that with my credit card. I don't use credit card, bank card numbers. I need that as a proper thing. So it's an image bank in my head. And when I have to use it, I go, oh no, what was that image? And it can be months later, never remembered it. And I go, it's that image there, that attached to it. So it must be this image. This must be this number. And I've only looked at that number once and be able to turn it into an image and that's it. I've got it now. But everyone can do this. That's the crazy thing, the superpower that everyone can have. So,
It's incredible when I hear you talk about it. And when you said case, then I was like, where's he going with this? But then as you explain it, it's like, oh my God, there's a logic to it, which is your logic.
yeah. Well, to show you that there's a letter to everything, I wasn't the guy who invented this. So everything that you come across with memory, okay, every memory technique has been developed over years and years and years and years. And we're talking thousands of years. So originally the Greeks, so everyone's heard of the Greek Olympics, but they also had memory Olympics where they would have great orators and they would speak for hours, word for word perfect, but they also had to demonstrate understanding and be able to perform it eloquently as well. And they would score points and then you'd get prizes and awards for having done it. And go right the way forward through a guy who's both a mathematician and a magician, who the name escapes me. I don't try and remember everything, so I can't remember who he was. He was about in the 1950s and 60s, an amazing bloke, and he developed this way of turning numbers into letters. So you've got 1 is a D or a T, N is number 2 is an N because it's got 2 downstrokes. M is so the way to remembering all of these. Okay, so T or D has 1 downstroke, and N has 2 downstrokes. M has 3 downstrokes. 4 is an R, just because like it's the end of the word 4, okay? And 5 is an L, because of 5, all right? So that might help you. So you've got an L shape. 6 is a J, it's a J, so it's a written J, all right? 7 is 2K, so it's a K sound. 8 is an F, so it's a handwritten F, like copper plate. 9 is a P or a B, because it's like a golf club. All right. So a P or a B sound. And 0 is a S or Z. So you take all of those letters, mix them up with some of the filler letters and the letters you haven't used. You can easily create words. That means you can go from 0 to 100, combine them with other peg systems, loci systems, things like that. And you can literally have thousands of different places. I've even, just to experiment on it, so about 15, 16 years ago, when I was doing my theological training, so people don't realize I'm a Church of England minister as well as all the other things I do. I thought, oh gosh, how powerful this is. I know. So I decided not to make any notes from I was writing a paper, deep theological paper, far too boring to even go into. And I decided I would read the books, note the important key parts, turn it into an image, and memorize the page numbers of which book it was. And I read 10 books, put all of these into into the places in my head, and wrote the paper from memory. And then I just went back and checked that I'd got all the details right, and I got everything correct, and even the page numbers for the references and everything else in every book and every bullet point, combined it all together. And it's the thing about when you can, I think it's called Bloom's taxonomy, when you are able to create memory first. So memory is at the bottom. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So it's that triangle thing. But the very bottom of it is remembering. Once you can remember it, you can then have understanding. Once there's understanding, you have application. Once you've got application, you can then analyze it. Then you can evaluate it, and then you can be creative with those ideas. But it starts with remembering, and learning memory techniques is the best way to go. I don't know why they don't teach this at school. They just say, go and learn this. It's a nightmare. And people can't understand. Yeah, I think that they should spend the first 2 years of actually do the basics, but helping children to learn to remember.
100%.
And learning techniques. If you could do that, kids would enjoy life, memorizing stuff. My son, he was doing his A-levels. He was struggling with part of his physics, which was the electronic side. And I said, do you trust me, my son? And he goes, yes, father. It's very good. He does trust me, because he just watches what I do and goes, oh, come on, Dad. My son's like me. It's amazing. And I said, trust me for a day. I will teach you all your electronic part of physics in one day. Let's go do it. So I live on a farm. Very lucky. I'm obviously live on a farm. We got walks around us. And I said, first of all, I need to. So we went to the summary notes that you can buy, the Let's guides or whatever it was back in our day. And at the end of each section, this is what you need to know. And list down, there were 60 different things you needed to know. And I said, this is what we do. We're going to go and hook all these things in. So we went round to the first place and said, create an image here. We created the image together, walking this actual route, put it into his head. Brilliant. Okay, let's go to the next place, then the next place, then the next place. Just walking around, created 60 individual spaces. And we got back and I said, now we're going to go through them. So spaced repetition. Went through them all. He went, I don't believe this. I've just memorized the whole lot in one go. And it was fun. I went, yeah. Again, use spaced repetition for the rest of the time, over the rest of the day. And we just did other things as well. Just had lots of fun. We recalled it about 5 or 6 times, and that was it. Doubling the amount of time between each one. And at the end, he said, it's like my brain's on fire, Dad. It's like, this is incredible. And he didn't forget it since. And when he went to, and now he didn't even understand the subject. But once I taught him this, he was able to unpack it, able to understand it, able to apply it into his normal physics stuff. So the start of it is remembering. And that's why it's so key.
Wow, that's nuts. Because my daughter was talking to me last night about how for her GCSEs, because it's the final year now at school, and she's got to memorize all this Shakespeare stuff. And she's like, we're going to know all these different parts of, I can't even remember what it was, but it just sounded really...
Does she need to know quotes?
Yeah, that was part of it.
Okay, I've got a tip for you for that.
I'll be super dad of the year if I tell her a good tip.
This is just great, isn't it? Okay, right. So I'll send you later. Actually, people can do this if they want. If you look up Advanced Memory Techniques by Andy Gray, Gray. Okay. If you dig far enough, you might have to go and find a Reddit or a torrent or something. I wrote this book about 20 years ago, developing techniques and things. All right. And nothing new since then. And I've dumped it where I've needed reference people say, oh, this person came up with it or whatever. and I dumped everything I knew into that book, and I gave it out for free with affiliate codes. I made money off it through affiliates. It was when PDFs were only just being used as ebooks. That's how long ago it was. And you can get them everywhere now. So some places still sell it. It's even on some of the bigger book websites, but you don't need to pay for it at all. Just keep digging on a few pages, you'll find it for free. And that'll give you like the number reference system. So she'll need the number references. Okay. Again, take a little bit of effort just to learn, and it'll help with that because she'll be able to have the scenes. But the trick is, now this comes from the acting profession of how you do it. All right. So what you do is I want to tell you a little bit something about rote learning. Bad. Okay. Really bad. You don't want to do
rote
this.
learning, by the way?
So rote learning is, let's say you want to learn I'll give you an example from like my Christian tradition. Okay, it's a really good example because it's exactly the same as learning a poem, learning verses from Shakespeare, whatever. And the way that it would be is you'd open your Bible up, right? And you'd read a verse. And that's right, all scripture is God-breathed and useful, teaching, rebuking, training all righteousness, so the man of God is thoroughly equipped for every good deed. Okay? Right. How did I learn that originally? Rote learning. Read over and over again, put it away. What can I remember? Forgotten it. Right, read it again. Your mouth is short-term memory. Otherwise, again, you'd remember everything you said. So every time you say something, it's in short-term memory. So rote learning, it does work after a very long time. But what it's doing is it's keeping it in short-term memory. It's spaced repetition works on, you have to wait to be forgetting something and then don't look it up because your brain will go, oh, that's familiar, no longer novel. You've got to drag it from your memory. Slightly painful, but makes your brain all on fire. Great fun. Rote learning means that you're just going to say it over and over again. So if she's like virtually every educational establishment going and learn these verses, these passages, these sonnets or whatever, this section, what you end up doing is you'll try and commit a paragraph to memory, and you'll do it by rote learning. Then you'll add another section to it, rote learning, another section to it, rote learning. Then you'll try and remember the whole thing, rote learning. And you're not so your brain is like a chemical factory, and you're making new chemicals. You're making neurons and synapses. Okay. So neurons are there. The two fire at the same time. You get a synapse joining the two. And so you're trying to create new memory engrams of encoding. And so first of all, make sure you're getting good sleep, good diet, drink lots of water and all that kind of thing. And lots of exercise as well, makes the brain all nice. You're doing all of that kind of stuff. So now you've got a good chemical factory, but now you need to be dragging stuff from short-term memory to long-term memory. And rote learning doesn't do that. What does do it is if you write down the first letter of every word in the passage you're trying to remember.
Okay.
All right. So my example of all scripture is God-breathed. We'll just take that a little bit first. You've got A, all, scripture, S, all scripture, I is, G, God, breathe, B. Okay. And I would write those letters down in a list. And that means now that I can just look at those letters and go, oh, all scripture is God. Or what was that word? Can't remember it. Quick check, breathe. Right. Okay. All scripture is God breathed. And funny enough, I'll remember it. And it's a technique that people who are performing on soaps, I never watch soap. They do my head. Too much arguing. I don't want arguing in my house. Thank you very much. I hate arguing anyway. So I won't watch it. But to be able to learn things really rapidly, to learn their script, a lot of them will use this technique to write down the first letter of each bit. And what you find is you can say, okay, well, I can remember that bit now. So I'm going to rub out some of the letters. And now I can remember some more of it. And I can rub out those letters. And now I can remember some of it. And it will speed up the process of remembering. The second thing to do is, like I say, spaced repetition. And there's no real hard and fast rule, but if you do a graph of time and forgetting, you learn a thing. And then, like I said, 20 minutes later, you've forgotten 48%. All right. So what you do is I recommend to people, spend 10 minutes learning a thing, committing it to memory. So what you're doing is there's ways of doing that, usually visualization and holding things in your memory. And so you've got an image in your head. It's really quite good fun, but you're focusing on the image. So people try and remember too much. We can do an experiment in a moment to show you how this works. Then leave it for about 10 minutes and then try and recall it without looking it up. And you should be able to do it. so you can then recall it. So what you're doing is you're on this graph, and the graph goes along, and you start to forget. And it's at that point, Ebbinghaus, back in the 18th century, came up with this. That's why you got this phrase, Ebbinghaus nudges, which is what the letters are doing. They're nudging your brain to remember. And then you go, okay, right. So now I'm going to recall it. Oh, this hurts. But that's okay, because actually it's not too painful. It's a bit like doing 10 reps with a fairly light weight doing your workout. All right. You go, oh, okay, now I've remembered it. And then you give it 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, you start forgetting it again. So you do it again. You go, oh, up we go again. Right. And you remember it. Now you can leave it an hour and you recall it after an hour. Okay. And your brain's recalling it. Then you can leave it about 6 hours and your brain will do it again. All right. And once you get in the habit of this, you can start working out. I think my spaced repetition is about every 30 minutes, every 2 hours, and then every day, and then once a week. And so what she needs to do is to be able to say, okay, well, I've learned this bit now. I'll recall it tomorrow morning. I'll recall this at the end of the week. And so you just put it in your diary, just recall it. And if you're putting, the next trick to do is to make sure that those passages that she's trying to learn, that she puts into a memory palace. So she has a key idea, which will be able to trigger the memory. And you put that into your memory palace, which brings details if you want. You put that into your memory palace. And then in her imagination, when she wants to practice her work, she doesn't need to go to her books. She could be walking down the road with her friends and she can, or whatever. And she goes, oh, I'm just going to do some revision. Let's go to the first place in my memory palace. Oh, there. Oh, I can remember. I don't know. I did my best. So I can remember a bloodied hand. What was the passage? Oh, it's this. And then you can remember it. And you're doing the whole thing from imagination and from memory, which is just strengthening those memory engrams. And then you do it once a week. I would say weekly, and then you can drop it down to monthly. So when she comes to revision time, and she just started GCSEs.
This is her last year. So yeah, this is year 2.
Yeah. Year 2, right? So she starts now, okay, when everybody else is doing the panic, trying to cram everything else at the end of the year, she can just sit there and go, let me recall my information. Oh, it's this. And just drop the whole lot. And I'll tell you how powerful this is. When I was first at college, so I've got 2 degrees. I'm greedy. And one's in youth and children's work plus theology, and the other one is in dog collaring and theology. And the first time I did it was embarrassing now, 34 years ago. Yeah. And everybody had to remember dates for certain Old Testament stuff. There were about 60, 70 dates. It was a nightmare. And so a lot of my friends had things stuck on doors and all the rest of it. And by this point, I'd learned basic memory techniques. And me being who I am, I thought, well, I'll cram. I'll be all right. I'll cram. And then it came to the night before. So I thought, right, I'll try and remember these dates and I'll just put it in my memory. I'll be all right. And it was a stormy night. And I was living on the seafront in a place called Barton-on-Sea, which overlooked the Isle of Wight. And it was a really stormy night. We're living in some flats. And everybody else around us was elderly. And I suddenly heard this mighty smash next door. And I rushed around and said, are you okay? And this elderly gentleman, his wife, he says, I was opening the door and the wind blew it and the window just smashed on his. We had these little balconies and it was a mess. So I cleaned it up for him. And now I was left with no more than 1 hour before I really had to get some sleep. By the time I finished, I thought, oh, what am I going to do? I thought, I've just got to trust my memory. Just got to trust my memory power. So I memorized. So I broke all the dates down into, like I've just described to you, with these letters and numbers. I attached them to a walk, which is how you do memory palaces. I attached them to all that information, walked at everybody else, like I said, had spent months with Post-it notes, trying to remember them. We got there next day. Everybody was saying, oh, I can't remember the dates, can't remember the dates, can't remember the dates. I walked in and aced the whole lot. It was the only exam we had to do in the particular course I was doing, but I could remember every single date without any problems at all. That's the power of this stuff. It's like, it makes life easy.
I was going to say, why didn't I discover this at university? Because I was probably the worst revising. And so, Andy, we were talking about my upcoming presentation,
Yes.
which is with Mr. Grant Wright.
Okay.
Actually, we're doing a co-presentation, the two of us. But I could really do with some tips on that, on how I can get my side of the argument, because we're having a bit of a battle.
Okay.
It's an interesting talk.
Right.
I'll talk to you about that part of it offline. But what are some tips that if someone is doing a presentation, they can take on board to get things a bit more sticky rather than, as you mentioned, avoiding having those extra cards and piece of paper or even like bits of writing on your hand, which I sometimes see some speakers, they'll have a little prompt and they'll just
Yeah.
look over at the hand. And I'm like, you're not looking at the time. I know you're not looking at the time.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I think the first thing to know is that, so from experience, so like I said, I've done literally thousands of talks, from sermons to assemblies to training people to stand in front of thousands of people. And it was probably about 25 years ago that it was a very mean, I was doing some music. So it was a church kind of thing. I had over 100 young people and leaders there. And I was playing music with a friend of mine, and he stole my notes for what I was going to talk on. And he said, no, you do it without notes. That's how I suddenly had to do it without notes. And after that, so up to that point, people said, yeah, that was nice, Nora said. And I had to deliver this without notes. And at the end of it, people said, that was the best thing you've ever done. And I went, really? And I had like memorized it and stuff, but I was always reliant on the notes and the cards posted, little cards behind it. And I realized at that point that the trick was do everything from memory, because there's something about connection. And I've been working with businesses with graphic recording, been working with businesses for the last 2 years. And I've noticed that I always thought when I saw people preaching, those preachers who spoke and they didn't use notes, connected with their audiences so better. Bishops are brilliant at not having notes. Regular clergy, probably because of time or whatever, but also the way that we get trained is write your material and it has to be eloquent and you have to say from it, but it doesn't connect. You can be as eloquent as you like. It doesn't connect. I put my notes away. I learn it, I memorize it, and I can speak. Most people, sermons are supposed to only be about 10 minutes long, preferably 5, because nobody remember anything. I speak for 45 minutes and people say, where did the time go? We loved, that was great fun. I put comedy into it and all sorts of other things. When they're laughing, they're learning. You've discovered this and all the things that you do. I see what you're getting up to. It's like when they're laughing, they're learning. That's why you're memorable. And I discovered that actually speak without notes. So the first thing is, how do you speak without notes? Because it's essential. That's how you connect with your audience. And also the process of you putting it into your memory means that you get into flow. And by getting into flow, it means that people can remember it much better, because you find that so how do you do it? So I say to people, it doesn't matter if you're a manager or whatever, learn to speak without notes. And you get a lot of the books. I'm going to plug somebody's book.
Yeah,
Can I
go
plug
for it.
somebody's book? Not my own. I'm going to plug, okay, I'm going to tell him I plug this. Andrea Pacini.
Oh, yes. I was speaking to Andrea just the other week. Yes.
He writes this and he says, learn your notes, learn to speak from without notes. Guess what? It doesn't say how. I'm the person to tell you how to do it. All right. So I'm moving into that niche. That's my niche. I'm going to tell you how to be able to do it without notes and actually ditch the anxiety and everything else. And the fact is that when you speak without notes, you're making a connection. You can observe the audience. And what in the Competent Presenter books that Andrea says is having it clear, just having one idea. And I've watched these business people and those that speak without notes, they connect. And I've seen the reviews that people give and they go, oh, this person was brilliant. And it's like a meh for the people who speak with notes, but a brilliant for those who speak without. And it makes my life easier because I know you've organized. So step one is organization. So I use mind mapping. So Tony Bazan. So when I'm doing training, I'll speak about more extensively on this. But mind mapping, most people do it wrong, unfortunately. It drives me up the wall. Mind mapping, registered trademark, but you're supposed to put one word on a branch. Okay. And then your subcategories, one word per branch. And you're supposed to think, what is the one word which I hear it will trigger my memory so I can speak just off the cuff. All right. So let me give you an example of just how powerful this is. So I'm going to give you, first of all, so you start with the subject and the idea. And so I'm going to give you the context, fairy stories.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to give you just one or two words. Let's see how quickly you get it. You
Go
ready?
on.
Okay. Girl. Because you got a few options from girl. I'll let you guess on the next one if you want. Red.
Little Red Riding Hood.
There you go. Now, could you tell the story of Little Red Riding Hood from that point?
I'd have a stab. Yeah. Yeah. Only from what I
Yeah.
can remember, but yeah.
If I then went wood, wool, ears, eyes, teeth, grandma, woodcutter.
That would help a lot. Yes.
You'd be able to get all of those things. Okay. So what you do is, if you're trying to memorize that story, is I would say, right, now imagine yourself walking around the house and you want to put them in order. So I can't be bothered putting them in order. So, but I want to put them in order. So what you do is you set up in your head, walking around your house. And in the first place in your house, so I usually say, open the front door. What's the first thing you see? First thing I see is red. I see a girl hood. Okay. That's enough for me to be able to talk about Little Red Riding Hood. I'm now going to go into my second room. In there is grandma. Grandma's lying in bed. Sorry, no, it's mum, isn't it? It's mum first. Mum says, go and take these cookies. So you've now got some cookies in there. We're going to use some senses as well. All right. So we got cookies. I want you to imagine eating those cookies. What do they taste like? What do they smell like? Are they a bit hot? Did they burn your tongue? So you're using lots of cognitive ideas. So one of the tricks is to make something novel and new that we've already talked about, is you want it to be larger than life. So a giant cookie. You want it, so actually what you're going to put in that cookie, maybe lots of chocolate, drizzled with chocolate. You want it to be hot, so it's burning your tongue. That's another tingle. What sound does it make? What does it smell like? So now you're giving your brain lots of nice things like play with, all right? And it goes, And what you do is you take a moment to say, I'm just going to sit with this for about 5 or 10 seconds. Okay. And then having done that, I'll then move on to the next image. So you know once she's going to go into a wood. And now she's in a wood and she's picking things. So I'm going to go into my next room. And in my next room, I'm going to create a wood. I'm going to have lots of flowers there of different things I can smell. But hang on a minute, I feel a bit nervous and uncomfortable. Why is that? Because there's a wolf hiding behind the tree. Ooh, heck. Oh, that's a bit scary. I'm now feeling fear. And I'll just go into each of my rooms and in the same order. So, okay, so keep things organized. We can talk about that in a moment if you like and why this works. And I've built up my whole image. So when I now come to do my presentation, all I have to do is walk around my house. And as I walk around my house, I'm able to bring up each image. But I want to take it a step further because that is not flow state. That is not how you can get really good at stuff on stage.
Can I just ask you
Yes,
one
of course you
question
can. Yeah.
before we go into flow
Yeah.
state? Because
Mhm.
you mentioned almost a room per point.
Yes.
What if you had one room and you were trying to tell the whole story in that one room?
Okay. Right.
What's
so you
the difference?
okay. So you still need to, right. So what happens is you have memory bleed.
Hmm.
So ideas filter into each other, and that's where you get confusion. So I want you to imagine for a second, we're going to go old school. We're going to go for your office at work. So you've got your office at work. Imagine this. Is you've got your office at work, and I know we all have computers with computer files on and all the rest of it now. But I always remember the old offices where we had filing cabinets. And you have hundreds of businesses who you work with. I often, when I'm training primary school, I teach primary school children how to do this, to show them how they can go to secondary school and they're not stupid. All right. I've taught dyslexic people this. I'd love to tell you the story about that before we finish. And there's this, you got a filing cabinets. And I sent one of your workers, you've got sort of like admin people who work for you or not. I don't know where you are on the pecking scale. Would you mind going and just getting that from the office? So you send Dave out to getting, and he goes there and he goes and finds Blogs and Sons and goes to Blogs and Sons and then the date of 20th of September, 2005, and Paul throws into that file. And then you find the little bit of information that you need, brings it back to you and says, there you go. And you go, thank you very much. Nice and organized. It's great. On this particular day, there's been on the news report, it's been a bit of a tragedy really, because the zoo had broken into. It's a safari and they've let all the animals out. They've all gone mad. And one of them has been a rhinoceros and it's broken. It's literally just smashed the doors down of your building. And it's gone in to the records room. A havoc in all of those filing cabinets. But you've still got to get work done. So you say today, Dave, would you mind going and find that paper? And Dave's gone all day because the papers are everywhere. And he can't find it. And finally comes back, is what he said, I can't find it. So the main thing is that memories, images you create have to be discrete and in discrete spaces. So we remember where things are. This came originally, this original idea was from, I think it was something about there was a disaster or something or other. there's a guy there, and he was the guy from before, Harry Lorraine. He's the one to look up. Information suddenly connects. I think actually Harry Lorraine related to this. And there were these tables, and he had to remember the people who were on the tables. And because he could remember the people on the tables, he was able to go in and sort of like actually remember the names of the people. Yeah. And he could remember how many people. We remember things by place, and you have to have them unique, otherwise they bleed, and you end up with rhino theory, where everything is a complete mess. So one of the best things to do is use something called a memory palace. Now, memory palace is a shorthand way. You can do them virtually. So in that book that I suggested, I use virtual towns. So I create towns in my imagination, and I create shops in those towns, and I put little ways from each town to each place. It's just great fun. Just imagination play. And I put all sorts of things all over the place for it. But everywhere is unique. You can do it with your house though. So you can walk around your house. If you want to build, you've got a limitless amount of supply of imagination. Go and get a national trust annual pass. Buy one of those. Great investment. Trust place to a house. Walk around their house and gardens. And then go to a new place. Do the same thing there. Cathedrals, they're for free. Okay. And you can go around and memorize the routes. So you just walk it. It's dead easy to do. The Domenico Brian, was that his name? I think so. Memory person. He used his route on a train, and he put the different things at the stations to be 52 stations to memorize a deck of cards. So I can memorize a deck of cards if I want to as well. I can do that in one sitting. I'm not quite as fast as it. The fastest, I think, somewhere in about 30 to 40 seconds, possibly fast, and memorize deck of cards. I've not practiced that, so I can't be bothered. But you can become a memory champion. So what you do is you put aces, enhance it. You use basically sort of like a number system or a peg system. So I use 1 bun, 2 shoe, 3 tree, 4 door, 5 5 6 gate, 9 wine, 10 hen as a base 10 unit. And I put those items in there with that thing. You can use one room if you want to, preferably a big room, because the bigger the room, the easier it is, but you can use this in space. So if you're networking at an event, you can memorize what people's names are together with what they do. All right. And what you do is you use a peg system. So again, advanced memory technique, use a number peg system and put the item in a corner of the room with an image which summarizes the name of the person together with what they do. So I can remember stories really quite nice and easy. So I can remember people's stories about who they are really easily, but that's because I love story. Yeah. And if you listen to their story of what they're interested in, and when you're talking to a person, think to yourself as well, if you've got a wide ranging interest, it's really useful. So I've got this massive wide range of interests. I do a deep dive and then jump out and deep dive into something else. Look for the connection with that person. Memorize their story. If they say something which you've never come across before, now it's unique, so it's easy to remember. So you're either connecting to yourself or connecting to uniquity. Put that image of that person, that face, with in a corner of the room or a space in the room, together with a summary of an image form, right? Then you can go to another part, the next bit of the long room. So it might be sort of like a different part of the wall. It's got a unique place. So the first one will be bun, second one will be shoe. So you put a shoe in the corner. You put them sitting in a giant somebody else. So you can then build up this massive image, this massive network of lots of people who you've met during the day. And as you're doing that, you suddenly find yourself thinking, hang on a minute, I'm talking to somebody else who's into that as well. Network event. Oh, have you met such and such? I was talking to them about 3 hours ago, and they were telling me all about this information, summarize it for them, say, let me go and introduce you. You now go and introduce them. One of the most powerful people in a room is the person who's just in networking. So suddenly you're able to sort of like network people together, even though you've never met them before in your life. And you suddenly have value to people, and then they want your details because you're the anyway. There we go. So let's go back to your question about how do you actually memorize. So the first step is to have those words. And so, like I said, research told you exactly about it. So you come up with one keyword, and so you break your whatever you want to say down. So mind map what you want to say. Mind map it into so you've got single keywords, and they're concrete ideas that you would be able to stand on stage and you'd be able to have that mind map in front of you. Okay. And on that mind map in front of you, you would then be able to see the first word, and then you'd see the first point and you'd be able to talk to that. And you see the next point and you could talk to that. And you'd see the next point and you could talk to that. Yeah. Brilliant. That would be great. Then all you've got to do is, like I said, find a route. Okay. And you could use your imagination for this. It's fine. And you take that first word and imagine, turn it into a concrete image in your head, and then use the memory technique I've just said and put that item in that first space in that route. Yeah. Then what you can do is you can connect. So you've got one branch and you've got like 3 or 4 things coming off that branch. That's how mind mapping works. You connect in that space with your first item, make it impact the second one. So you're creating a bit of a story. Yeah. Then you make that one connect with the next item, make it a bit of a story, make it impactful, make it do something. So you're creating a story in your head, but you're making a film. So imagine you're a director of the film thing and make it ridiculous. So quite often I'll have something like, there might be, I'm trying to remember something. I'll end up with a hedgehog and the hedgehog is playing football and the ball gets stuck in its spikes and the spikes making a psst and the football flies around and hits a statue. And that, these will be images that I'm sort of like, will be representations of what I'm trying to remember. Main thing is end of the loop. So let's say you've got 4 things. The last thing, link back into the first thing. Because if then you struggle to recall something, you've forgotten something, which you won't do. But if you've forgotten it, you can look back. All right? Then go to your second space that created for your route. Take an image of that item. Do the same thing again. Okay? Spaced repetition. After you've done this for 10 minutes, put your thing away. Give yourself a moment. Recall what you've just done. And what you do is don't panic about saying, I can't remember each individual bit. What I want you to do is you want to say, okay, what was that first image? What was the first space? That was the first space. And that was what was there with the space. Oh, and this created this story. And this is the story I have to remember. Okay. Now, when you're presenting on stage, that's a little bit cumbersome. Yeah. Because you're trying to remember things. You've got people in front of you, you'll be distracted. So this is what you do next. You go away and you practice it. Okay. So you're now doing your a confident presenter kind of thing, your ideas on stage kind of thing. You're practicing it, but now you're dragging it from your imagination. So go for a drive in your car, speak out loud, or I walk around my house talking out. Before I came on here with you, I was talking about all the different things I wanted to be able to remember to say to you if I needed to. So now I'm just working through the images in my head, and I do it enough times so that I stop needing to go through the images in my head. And I'm just talking naturally and really fluently, and it's just coming straight out. Okay. Talk. It's all coming out really easily, really simply. Now I'm starting to discover the flow. So I'll go, oh, hang on, that felt a bit clunky. I can't remember. I can't flow that in. Well, if I reword it, it becomes this. And the beauty of this means that you've done it all. You're now talking in flow. You get on stage and you're thinking, what if I forget it? Okay, well, that's fine. Get your mind map, put your mind map somewhere. You don't need it. But now what you're doing is you're talking confidently. And if you forget something, you can go back to your images and go, oh, that was the next thing I wanted to say. And the beauty is that if you're having a conversation with somebody, so you're talking to Grant, you're having this lively discussion with him, okay? You've got all of this data in your head. As soon as he says something, it'll trigger the images that you've memorized. And you'll suddenly have this eloquent amount of massed information that you can talk to him about. It's like what we're doing now. You're saying things. Unfortunately, I'm waffling like mad. But you're saying things and it's triggering everything I need to know. And now it's leading to another thing, another thing, another thing, another thing, another thing. And it's just connecting everything together. You talk for hours on any subject because it's just blasting all this information.
Oh, wow. Brilliant. That whole concept of the mind map sounds super, super useful because I would have, if I hadn't gone through this conversation, would have just used my slide as being almost that image
Yeah.
that you mentioned. But actually, within that slide, there's a bunch of stories, a bunch of points. So that felt too big. And so having the mind map and being able to break it down is super useful and helpful because, each of those slides is going to have things that I've got to say about the point that I'm going to be making.
Have we got time for me to just show you how powerful your memory is?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, right. We'll either use the house, or we'll use what I call the basic. I use the basic system with people who are dyslexic. So there's a guy called Jim Quick, worth looking up.
Oh yeah, Mr. Brain. Yep.
Yes, he gets paid stupid amounts of money to do what I suddenly realized. Second a bit, I've missed out on this. I've been talking about what he talks about, everything he talks about. I'm like, what?
You need a flashier surname, I think.
I've got a footballer surname, Andy Gray. It's ridiculous. So one of the things that I was talking this morning about, listening just to catch up on, and I was actually a little bruntled because he said they were talking about, he was talking about Diary of the CEO. The guy who does that says, I said, about my friend is dyslexic. And Jim Quick says, readers are leaders. And he didn't address the situation at all. I have trained people who are dyslexic how to read. So part of the problem is that when you're dyslexic, everything moves around on the paper and you can read, but you forget what you're reading. Therefore, because you've got basically huge amounts of information, if you imagine a computer, your processing power is going on just decoding what's on the page, don't mind anything else. And there was a friend, a guy who, I'm going to teach you this in a moment, but there was a guy who I was talking to in church, and he come to our church, and he's a bit of a was really. This person had been in the forces and done okay, but now really struggling with all-time low. It was heartbreaking to see. And said, problem is I'm dyslexic. I've never been good at education, so I don't know what to do now. And I said, let's sit down together. I said, I'm going to prove to you you're a genius. I said, no, I'm not a genius. I said, look, I've taught so many people who are dyslexic how to memorize stuff, and that you're not stupid. You just don't know how to do this properly. So I taught him the base 10 in 15 minutes. And he went, I don't believe this. I can remember stuff. I said, yeah. And then I said, next week he came back and said, I've quit. The fact of sort of suddenly realizing life to live. Over the next few weeks, he just slowly got more and more. And then he said, I want to learn to read, but I can never remember. I said, right. So what you do is read a very small amount. So what Jim Quick should have said. I don't know why he didn't. Read a small amount, what you can cope with, turn that into an image, put that in your first location. Okay. Or as I've touched in number peg system, in the first place. Then read the next bit, create an image, do that. Next image, create an image, boom. Just do it one at a time. Don't worry about trying to remember what you previously remembered, because that's not how it works, okay? So let's put it in a minute. And he did that, and he said, I can read. I don't believe it. I can remember what I'm reading. And because it's in his head, now you can process it. Remember what I said about that? Read first, and then understand it, and from understanding, you can analyze and all the rest of it. So now he's remembering it. Brilliant. This person's life changed together with his whole family. They had to move. I was broken about it, but he had to move. Went to university, and they said, because now he could read. And he said, I've always wanted to study something, which I won't say what it is, to do with history stuff. Okay. But I don't want, in case somebody's listening, I don't want to identify him. And he said, you have to do with history. And he said, I've always wanted to learn because I love what I do. But I couldn't read. They said, you're highly sick. They took him on to the next level. His professors said they were one of the best students they'd ever had. And now, I think it's about 10 years later, goes around the country running things to do with the history stuff that he does with a high level degree, highly dyslexic. Okay. Okay. So let me teach you how to do this. All right. Let me teach you. Okay. This is how powerful it is. So literally I've had people's lives transformed within 15 minutes doing this. Dyslexic people who think they're stupid and they're not, they're geniuses. Okay. Do you know the number rhyme, 1, 2, buckle my shoe? Do you know that one?
That's all I know of it.
Right. Okay. Right. So let's do this together. So I'm going to teach you from scratch. We could use houses, but I'm going to take a really big risk here, and we can do it. Okay. So 1, 2, buckle my shoe. So I want you to imagine this as I'm saying it. 3, 4, knock at the door. 5, 6, pick up sticks. 7, 8, lay them straight. 9, 10, big fat hen. Let's just go through this. So 1, 2 rhymes with
shoe.
3, 4 rhymes with
the door.
Well done. 5, 6
Sticks.
Okay. This is the tricky one. 7, 8, lay them straight. Okay. What could 8 rhyme with?
Gate.
Well done. 9, 10, big fat.
Hen. Yeah, I can't forget that one. That just like this huge hen popped into my head.
Excellent. Brilliant. Okay. You now know 5 points already. Okay. So we're going to give it about 30 seconds now because I want to make sure that this is secure. I'm just going to explain sort of like about, don't worry about trying to remember it. Okay. So don't worry. We'll get there in a second. Basically, the idea is that you're giving time to relax. You're giving your brain time to take it on board, and you're creating the space because you now need to get something. So your information goes into short-term memory, and then by using the right processes, you're now going to put them into long-term memory. Okay. Short-term memory to long-term memory, and your brain needs to become the chemical factory to be able to do that. Some people find that their brain starts to feel a little bit tingly doing this. It's somewhere sort of like just behind the nose area. People who are autistic, we can feel our own brains working in different parts of our brain. It's a really weird thing, but find that more than ever. Not everybody, but there are some of us who go, oh, this is that part of the brain tingling. Okay. So it's going to go through that again. Ready? 2 rhymes with
shoe.
4 rhymes with
door.
5 rhymes with
sticks.
Yeah. Okay. 8 rhymes with
gate.
10 rhymes with
hen.
There you go. So now you've got the first 5. So we're going to come up with number rhymes for all the other things. Okay.
Oh, God.
All right. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So I might give you some of these because if you get stuck, just to speed things up for the podcast and for you. Right. So 1, what could 1 with?
Swan.
Swan. Very good. Not had a swan before. Okay. 1. So 1 rhymes with swan. 2 rhymes.
Shoe.
You had that. 3 rhymes. What could you have?
Flea.
Oh, that's really good. Okay. 4 rhymes with
door.
5 rhymes with
hive.
6 rhymes with
sticks.
7 rhymes with
heaven.
Heaven. Very good. Yeah, it's the most obvious. It's quite a tricky one. 8 rhymes with
gate.
9 rhymes with
shine.
Shine. Okay, you need it to be a solid thing. So you could have the sun shining, or you could have something else.
Wine.
You want to go for wine. Okay, that's fine. All right. So you got wine and 10 rhymes with
hen.
Okay, right. So really visualize these really clearly. So 1 rhymes with
swan.
Okay, so imagine that swan. What's it doing?
It's gliding on the water.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, 2 rhymes with
shoe.
Okay, so imagine that nice and big. Make it funny, make it impactful, whatever you want to do. It's just got to be big, bold, and beautiful. That's the way of putting it. All right.
Okay.
3 rhymes with
flea. So
Okay.
flea almost in a circus, and it's on the
brilliant.
trapeze.
Okay,
doing some
fantastic.
Crazy jumps.
Excellent. Okay, you're getting this. You're getting this. Well done, Flea. Sorry, my brain suddenly went to stalactites and stalagmites, and yeah. Okay, Flea, 3, 4 rhymes with
door.
Okay, nice big strong image for that.
Yeah, I'm going to picture one of my neighbor's doors because it's like this greeny color. I'm
Okay,
not going to say it's good
brilliant.
or bad.
No, that's
They might be listening.
fantastic. Okay, 4 rhymes. 4 rhymes. Right, 5 rhymes with
5. What did I say for 5?
calling it, and this is making the memory engram even stronger because you're having to recall it. So 5 rhymes with hive. So what are you going to have for that image?
Yeah, I mean, I hate bees and wasps generally, so I'm just picturing my hand going into a hive and just going.
Excellent. Okay, no, that's great. That's great. Okay, right. 6 rhymes with
Sticks. Yeah, we got that
okay.
one, yeah.
What are you going to do with those sticks? I like drumstick personally, but there you go.
Oh, so here's a weird one. My surname is Danda, and in my language, my surname means stick.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay,
Which
now.
is terrible.
Okay, now that's okay. Apart from one thing, that's familiar to you.
Okay.
So remember I said about novelty?
Okay.
All right. So it could cause a bit of a problem there. So you need to think of something else to do with sticks. You have drugs or flight, anything you like. But we want something nice and solid and unusual.
Yeah, go on then. I've got this Indian instrument in my head. It's like
Okay.
this massive,
Yeah.
big thing, and there's a big stick and a
Yeah.
little stick. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. That'll be great for you. So you're going to use that to drum different things. So when you're trying to remember sort of like a list, 6. 7 is
Heaven.
heaven. Okay. So, I recommend you going for just the really sort of like the cliche, cheesy image of heaven. Okay. Talk about clouds, talk about sort of like stupid angels with fake wings and a halo and all that kind of thing. Make it stupid, right? It's the easiest way of doing it. Rather
Okay.
than sort of like whatever your realistic image of heaven might be. Okay. Just go cheap. Okay.
Got
I
it.
even have pearly gates on mine as well. And it's all the cheese that work.
I'm thinking Christmassy with the angel with the tinsel
Brilliant. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Okay. Right. 8.
gate.
Okay. All right. So put a gate somewhere unusual, I suggest. Don't use your own front door, front gate.
I mean, we have a gate for the estate I live on.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's certainly vivid.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay. That's fantastic. 9 rhymes with,
Wine, I said, didn't I? Yeah.
yeah. It's quite useful just to have this giant glass of wine. Just make it
Yeah.
really big. Okay. And just know what it tastes like. And I usually throw whatever I need to in that wine.
The ironic thing is I've never got into wine. It's the one
No.
thing I'm like, I couldn't tell you if it's a good wine or a bad
Yeah.
wine. And yeah, so it kind of sticks in my mind a little bit for that
Brill,
reason as well.
brill.
That,
So it's novel. That's good. And got your nice big fat hen as well for number 10.
Yeah.
Last one. Okay.
yeah, I mean, I live right next to a park that has a farm within it. And
Brill.
I'm going to just picture a massive hen like sat there.
Okay, right, fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my phone now because I can't be bothered sort of like spending half an hour trying to come up with 10 items. I'm going to give you 10 random things. You ready? So we're going on to AI here. No, don't worry about it. And I'm going to show you how you do it. Give me a list of 10 random objects. There you go. Random objects. Give me a list of 10 random objects. AI works. There we go. All done. It's great, isn't it? These days. Right. Okay. So I'm going to use this and I'm going to turn the phone off. So you'll see in a minute. Right. So I want you to imagine. So the first one's a coffee mug. So what does 1 rhyme with? Number 1. 1 rhymes with
Swan.
swan. So I want you now to take the swan and really clearly link it with the coffee mug. So I'll give you an example. The swan is drinking coffee from a mug, or it could be swimming around in a coffee mug, or something like that. What kind of image would you like to create?
Yeah, I was instantly picturing that swimming around in the mug.
Okay. All right. So I want you to focus on that just for about 3 seconds.
Okay.
Got it? Okay. Now, don't worry about trying to remember it. This is the key thing. You want to be concentrating on each image. It's a bit like going around an art gallery, but it's an experiential art gallery. You're only there in the moment, remembering that particular image. Okay.
Okay.
So don't worry about forgetting. Don't worry about trying to remember it. Don't keep doing the rote thing or anything else. Just don't worry about it. You've just experienced an image of a swan in a coffee cup or a coffee mug. Right. Okay. The next one is 2. 2 rhymes with
shoe.
Okay. Actually, let me just commit this to myself as well. So I'm going to do that and we're going to do that like that. Right. Okay. 2 rhymes with shoe and it's an umbrella.
Okay. I was picturing initially a big shoe and a little mouse in the shoe.
Okay.
Now I'm picturing the mouse holding the umbrella because it's raining and he's in the shoe.
Okay. Absolutely excellent. No, that's great. That's great. That's really good. Right. Like I said, don't worry about trying to remember it. Number 3 is a notebook.
Okay. So that was my flea. That was on the trapeze. A notebook. Okay. So maybe there's a notebook underneath as the flea's kind of safety net.
Brilliant. Yeah. No, that's great. No. The more stupid it is, the easier it is to remember. Okay. 3. I'll do that one. Okay. 4 rhymes with.
Oh my God, I forgot what it was for.
It's your neighbour's green door. See, that's what I was saying about familiarity makes it harder to remember. Yeah, you see, because you're familiar with your neighbour's green door. Therefore, you went, oh, what was that? Whereas the flea, you went, oh, it's a flea. See?
Yeah.
So just be aware of that when you remember things. Familiarity makes it harder. Okay, so number 4 is sunglasses. So how can you link sunglasses to that door? Something stupid. You've got to make it really stand out now because you've got a familiar item. So you can make it big, so you can exaggerate it. You can make it funny. You can make it violent. You can make it painful. You can make it taste. You can make it smell.
Well, their doors directly in the sunlight all the time. So I
Yeah.
think it needs some sunglasses.
Okay, right. So you've made a logical link. How can you now make that illogical?
Oh, okay. The door just likes to look cool.
That's the one. There you go. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Maybe it's an Elvis door. Right. 5 rhymes with
Hive.
hive. Very good. So you remember that easily because you don't like bees. This one's a backpack. So a rucksack.
Okay. Right. The bees have decided to wear rucksacks because they can get lots of stuff in them.
Brilliant. Okay, that's great. Now, normally at this point, I'd actually sort of like go through all 5 and say to people, right, well, let's just check the first ones. But we're not going to do that. We're going to keep going and see how many you can actually sort of remember. I just need to just put that in and 5 hive. Yeah, it's the same image as you because that's quite fun. But 6, we're halfway there. You do 6 rhymes with
Sticks.
keychain.
Trying to think of my image that I was thinking about with the sticks.
Uh-huh.
What did I say?
You had your drum.
Yeah.
So if you use your sticks to drum the keychain, but just make it really big and listen to the sound it makes.
Yep.
Got that? Okay. 7 rhymes with
Heaven.
okay. So now what you've got is a flashlight, so a torch.
Okay. Yeah, the angels use flashlights to spotlight each other.
Excellent. Love it. Okay. We're nearly there. You're doing so well. 8 rhymes with
Gate.
right? And so what you need now is you need it's a water bottle.
Water bottles keeping the gate warm.
Okay. Yep. Hot water bottle. Love it. That's brilliant. 9 rhymes with
wine. We said the wine, didn't we?
Yeah. So it's headphones.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. The wine bottle's got headphones.
Okay. Brilliant. That's fine. All right. So this last one is 10 hen, which is a plant pot.
Okay. Plant pot with a hen. Okay. Hen's laying an egg in a plant pot.
Brilliant. Okay. Are you ready?
God, this is going to be terrible. I know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Right. Okay. So ants, got to step on ants. Annihilate negative thoughts. Okay.
Okay.
Annihilate negative thoughts. Trust the process. Right. So I'm going to say 1. What does 1 rhyme with? 1 rhymes with
Swan.
what's that swan doing?
It was floating around in a cup.
Okay. What's in the cup?
Coffee.
All right. So
Yes.
it's a coffee mug. So all you got to do is just remember the flavor of it. All right. So the swan's floating around. Right. 2 rhymes with
Shoe.
okay. What's happening with that shoe?
There's a mouse holding up an umbrella.
Very good. Right. 3 rhymes with
Flea.
okay.
Oh, yeah. Fleas on the trapeze. And then we had a notepad
There
as
you go.
the
Right.
barrier. Yep.
4 rhymes with
Door.
okay.
And we said the door wants to be cool, so it's wearing sunglasses.
Well done. Okay. 5 rhymes with
Hive.
okay.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one. And then we said the bees need rucksacks. 'Cause
Yeah.
they need to carry
Okay.
more.
So 6 rhymes with
Yeah, sticks.
Yeah.
And the sticks and the necklace.
okay. It was a keychain. It was a
Keychain, sorry.
So you've got the chain bit right. So
Yeah.
now some keys on it and make the keys really big.
Okay.
All right. Okay. What are the keys for?
Door.
Yeah. I'm just saying. So it just helps you to know what the keys are. Try to memory bleed. So you don't want to be putting them onto the door, otherwise you'll get memory bleed. 6, 7 is with
Heaven.
what you got there.
Spotlight.
Very good. Yeah. Torches. Very good. Next one is 9 rhymes with
Wine.
yeah. And so you got
Wine's wearing headphones because he wants to be cool.
brilliant. There you go. 10 rhymes with
Hen.
and that means you've got a
Plant pot because he's laying an egg in a plant pot.
exactly. Very good. You just remember 10 items straight off.
Oh, my God.
And how easy was it?
That was pretty cool.
Okay, 3. What's 3 rhyme with?
Flea.
Okay, what was that?
The notepad.
Okay, 8. What's that rhyme with?
Gate.
Okay, what's that? What you got on that?
Oh, the hot water bottle.
Yeah. Okay, very fantastic. Okay, what about number 5? 5 rhymes with
Hive.
yeah. So you got
Rucksacks.
okay. 2 rhymes with
Shoe.
there you go.
Oh, hooray.
Now you started off an hour or so ago, an hour and 20 minutes, good grief, you started off by saying you had a rubbish memory. You just remember 10 items.
Wow.
Straight off. I taught you in the space of, what was that, 10 minutes? The worst part of this is later on today, you're going to go, what was that list? And you'll recall it.
Right.
And you will not be able to get that list out of your head. And it'll be really annoying you. In a few days' time, you'll recall it and you go, I can still remember that stupid list. I have people come back to me later getting really cross. But here's the thing, right? I've just taught you that base 10. If you ever need to use that, need 10 slots again, right? All you have to do is to just literally think of the things themselves. So 1 swan, 2 shoe, 3 tree, 4 door, 5 hive, 6 stick, 7, just go through them, erase them just by saying it. It's like erasing the old cassette tapes, and you'll be able to reset it and use them for new things.
Oh, amazing.
That's how good. So what I do is I'm going for a bike ride and I suddenly get an idea that I want when I get home. I start making mental notes like that. And I literally use it as a scratch pad on my head. If somebody wants me to talk, I can write a talk in about 5 minutes at a table. And they say, oh, that person's not turned up. And I've had this happen to me. They've not, can you do a talk on this? Yeah, okay. I'll sit down, mind map it out within about 3 minutes, spend 2 minutes memorizing it and talk without notes just by using this, just by using the scratch pad. It's to finish off. I help people to be able to like memorize stuff. And I'm sort of like, just realized I need to really help people be able to speak. So the memory stuff's all for free. I'm arranging it so people can, I'm going to set up a link. So I don't know what you can do links or whatever. So people like about this, and we'll do this like one session, maybe take about 90 minutes or so for me to well train people how to do this for free. Okay. And then join Discord. And then off the back of that, the thing really enhances your state further. So that's how you can remember. But then so your audience can remember. I then use the graphic recording. And the graphic recording means that then your audience can remember and then share what you've said with other people. And then that means that both you and your audience remember. And that's unlike this. I don't think many people do.
Oh, Andy, that's fantastic. And once you got your links up and running, we'll add them to the show notes so people can check those out. But we'll also add your LinkedIn link so people can get in touch with you, because I'm sure it sparks so much curiosity, and I'm still blown away by what you've just done there in a short amount of time. And so, Andy, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure to catch up with you, and just so many golden nuggets.
It was a pleasure and a joy.
It's the end of another episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please do connect with me via LinkedIn and drop me a message and let me know your favorite takeaways from the episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Superpower School newsletter so that you can be notified of all future episodes. Simply visit the website www.superpowers.school. Thank you once again.